Yeah, it could be slipping Mai Tais on a tropical island.
A robot servant or something.
You know, windsurfing with naked models. I've been wrong all this time. Why am I working 90 hours a week? This is crazy.
Great.
You hit a point in your life where you made plenty of money and you could do whatever. What drives you to just keep...
Yeah, it could be slipping Mai Tais on a tropical island.
A robot servant or something.
You know, windsurfing with naked models.
Yeah.
You know, some people do that.
So like, what drives you to? I mean, obviously you work and work and work.
Wait a second. Why am I not? Why? I just realized.
Question everything.
I've been wrong all this time. Why am I working 90 hours a week? This is crazy.
Because I'm always fascinated by the idea of like, I've made it. People always want to be able to say, I've made it.
I've arrived.
Yeah. And like, how do you hit those little islands in your life, and you actually have to break yourself of that mindset. And what are ways that you break yourself of that mindset and keep on going?
I didn't put all this effort into building SpaceX and Tesla because I thought they were easy ways to make money. I mean, anyone who starts a car company thinking it's an easy way to make money is a fool. There are only two car companies that have not gone bankrupt in the history of the United States, and that's Ford and Tesla. And Tesla came within inches of going bankrupt multiple times, as did SpaceX. So, right, and like, who starts a rocket company think it's going to be successful? I started, both those companies I thought had less than a 10% chance of success. And I thought it was overwhelmingly likely that I would lose the money that I made from PayPal. You know, I came to North America when I was 17, just by myself. And I had like a few $1,000s in traveler's checks, back when traveler's checks were a thing, you know, in Canadian dollars. I landed in Montreal. I have some family in Canada, and my mom's uncle lived in Montreal. But like we didn't even know his phone number, so I landed in Montreal, and my mom says, "Oh, I just got a letter back from my uncle, and he's in Minnesota or something." So I'm like, "Oh, okay, I don't know what to do now." So I just stayed in a youth hostel and like bought a bus ticket across Canada, and I worked in various like odd jobs and stuff. I worked on my mom's cousin's farm, wheat farm in Saskatchewan for 6 weeks. That's where I had my 18th birthday, actually. I worked in the lumber mill, chainsawed logs, and did various odd jobs. And then went to college in Canada for a couple of years. I paid my own way through college, by the way. But in Canada, it's like easier because the college is more subsidized, and I was a Canadian citizen through my mom. So, and I got some scholarships and loans and stuff, and then I applied to the University of Pennsylvania, and didn't think I'd be able to go because tuition is really high, but they gave me a scholarship and loans and stuff, so I was able to go there. I graduated with about $100,000 in student debt, and I was going to do grad studies at Stanford, and decided to put that on hold to try starting an internet company. I tried to get a job at Netscape, but they didn't. I'd send my resume and didn't get any response. So I was like, okay, I guess I can't get a job there are only a few internet companies and can get a job at any of them. So I was like, I guess I want to do something with the internet. I got to start my own company. But I ended up writing the first maps and directions on the internet. I wrote it personally. Maps, directions, yellow pages, white pages, on a puny computer, like with hardly any. So you had to be like, the code had to be super tight. I even have some patents on like maps and directions and yellow pages and white pages and stuff from ages ago. They're lapsed now, but that company ended up getting bought by Compaq for about $300 million. And I owned 7% of the company, so I got like $20 million from that. Put most of it into X.com, which merged with Confinity to create PayPal. And then I got about $180 million from that. And I put all of that into SpaceX, Tesla, and SolarCity. I just basically kept all the chips on the table and just like, let's play another round. And most people take the chips off the table, or at least some of their chips. And then SpaceX and Tesla ended up being valuable, and that's where I am. But the reason for SpaceX and Tesla is, Tesla, if you say like, how would you assess the historical good of Tesla? I'd say it's the degree to which Tesla accelerated sustainable energy. And I've been interested in electric cars for a long time, since maybe high school or certainly early college. My original interest in electric vehicles was not so much due to environmental concerns, but rather from the concern that we'd run out of oil eventually, and or would become extremely scarce and expensive, and then civilization would collapse because we couldn't drive cars or run power plants and stuff. So we needed some form of sustainable energy generation and consumption, or civilization is going to collapse. So that was my original interest in electric vehicles and solar energy. And then I do think there's some risk of negatively affecting the climate. As you increase the CO2 concentration in the oceans and atmosphere, you increase the risk of something going wrong. I'm not like in the camp of the super alarmist global warming. I think, I don't think we're screwed because of the current parts per million of CO2 in the ocean's atmosphere. I think this is actually not a terrible level. However, there's so much inertia in the direction of mining and burning hydrocarbons that the world is still overwhelmingly dependent on mining and burning hydrocarbons. So if this continues and you start really driving up the CO2 in the oceans and atmosphere, then there's increased risk of accelerating climate change, basically warming up the oceans and raising the sea level. So I think I think that's probably just not a wise risk to take, since we will in any case have to transition to sustainable energy long term, because we will eventually run out of oil and coal to mine and burn. Then why run the experiment to see if something bad will happen with a high CO2 concentration in the oceans and atmosphere? It's a pointless experiment. We know we have to get to some sustainable energy economy. It's tautological. So I think we should try to get there sooner, so as not to run the risk of climate change. Climate change would not be catastrophic to civilization, but it would be very disruptive. Humans love living right on the ocean, so it's we're almost like a thermometer. It's like if we're living right on the beach. Okay, so this is so even small changes in sea level will put a lot of houses underwater. Even little changes, not have to be big. We've just inherently created civilization that is highly sensitive to changes in temperature.
A lot of politicians who are alarmist about this stuff buy homes right on the water, though, don't they?
That's true.
Yeah, I'm not sort of into vilifying the oil and gas industry, because I think the reality is if we don't have oil and gas right now, civilization would collapse, and everyone would be starving. So we obviously need oil and gas right now. It would be absurd to just stop it. It's not feasible. But I do think we should be trying to accelerate progress towards a sustainable energy future, not slow it down. I think it's just a sensible thing to do to try to move faster to a sustainable energy economy rather than slower, because that reduces the risk of the climate experiment. And like I said, since we know we have to get to a sustainable energy economy anyway, why run this experiment? It's just not smart. Anyway, so the fundamental good of Tesla, I think, is should be measured by how many years did Tesla accelerate the transition to a sustainable energy economy? 10 years, 20 years, that's the fundamental good of the company.
But to Ethan's point, he's asking why not? Is that your answer for why you keep going? Is because these things make a difference. They make a difference ultimately for the flourishing of humanity, for the longevity of humanity. Is that why you're not on a beach somewhere sipping Mai Tais or White Claws?
Yeah. I don't actually drink a lot of White Claw. This is not about trying to enrich myself. I do not live a life of conspicuous consumption. I work very long hours. But I think what Tesla's doing is important to the future, and that's why I keep doing it. And I think it's something that I think is Tesla increases the probability that the future will be good for humanity. And then for SpaceX, I think it's important that we take the actions, like that we become a spacefaring civilization and a multi-planet species. This is an exciting, inspiring future. You need to have things that when you wake up in the morning, you're excited about the future. Why live if it's all about solving problems or being miserable? Why live? So they got to be things that are inspiring, that get you in the heart. And I think space is one of those things. So, look at the Apollo program and, sending people to the moon in '69. And wasn't that a great thing for all of humanity? Great thing. And if you ask people, what are some of the greatest things that humanity's ever done, that would be one of them. And I think, around the world, people would agree with that.